Togliatti is the venue for the first of two Russian rounds in the 2020 FIM Ice Speedway World Championship. After a 3,000-kilometre journey westwards and less than a week on from the opening meetings of the campaign in Kazakhstan, the riders regroup at the Anatoly Stepanov Stadium for finals 3 and 4. Looking to do their city proud are three members of Togliatti's own ice speedway club, writing the latest chapter in a history that stretches back to the 1960s. Reigning world champion Daniil Ivanov has lived in Togliatti since he moved to the city, aged 19, back in 2005, while Igor Kononov is a more recent convert, joining the team to much acclaim in 2015. I remember riding here in the World Championship not long after I joined the club. I dropped only 1 point over the 2 days. Since that time, I've ridden here a lot. It is, of course, great to be part of the history of my city and of Togliatti Speedway. This will be my third meeting of the season here at Togliatti, but we aren't able to train at this track between events, so fixtures in the Russian Championship and Super League become preparation for the World Championship. In real terms, there are no differences between this venue and another, but it's easy to feel that it's your duty to win here above all. That's definitely no advantage, actually. Sometimes it's harder here than in other places, but the aim is the same, to win races. The ice here is particularly comfortable to ride, but that's the same in most places in Russia. It's a good track for me. I've had some good meetings here, and the club itself is one of the most successful in the sport. All of the sportsmen who are part of the team know they will have all the resources needed to ride competitively. Completing the Togliatti trio by making his World Championship debut is Evgeny Saidulin, the latest young Russian fresh off the production line and ready to rub shoulders with his teammates in individual competition. I really am pretty nervous about it because I haven't ridden here competitively for some time, but I'm definitely excited as well. When you have an opportunity to learn from the very best, riding alongside the likes of Daniil Ivanov and Igor Kononov, it's an extremely valuable experience for me to develop as a rider. I'm so happy to have this very rare and special opportunity to ride in the World Championship, and I'm very grateful. I'll definitely be doing my best for a good result. The 15,000 capacity Anatoly Stepanov Stadium became the world's leading international ice speedway facility with its redevelopment just over a decade ago, and Togliatti has been an ever-present on the FIM calendar since. With 4 World Team Championship finals and 6 individual World Finals already staged here, the venue is fast becoming talismanic for the sport in Russia. Local wildcard Evgeny Saidulin completes the lineup for his home round, while Bart Schaap returns after missing the trip to Kazakhstan. Reserve Lukas Huttler gets another call-up though, coming in to replace practice crash victim Niklas Svensson. Dmitry Komitsevich was the man to beat during the heat stages on day 1 in Togliatti, dropping just a single point from 5 rides to qualify to the semi-finals as top seed. His smooth lap 3 move on Harold Simon in heat 8 was the first of 2 heat victories he managed from the outside gate, most impressive, with a close finish involving Dinar Valeev and Harold Simon for seconds. For only the second time this season, Simon failed to make the top 8, a disqualification for exceeding track limits in Heat 12, leaving him with too much work to do. Martin Harri-Hiltunen was the man to take advantage with his first victory of the weekend, although he only made it to the semi-finals with a point to spare after a heavy Heat 13 crash that saw him disqualified. Hans Weber was another crash victim, suffering his second disqualification of the meeting after a fall on the opening 2 turns of Heat 9. But He bounced back well in the rerun of the all-important Heat 13, picking off Franz Zorn on the second lap to take 2 points that proved crucial after a three-way tie for 8th. Defeat at the hands of Hans Weber in the 4th round had left Zorn needing 2 points from Heat 20, but after making a customary fast start, he was relegated to 3rd by the end of the opening lap. That briefly opened the door for Harald Simon to take the 3 race points he needed to qualify, before the impressive wildcard of Jenny Seidulin hit the front on lap 3 and ensured neither Austrian would progress. 7 riders were separated by just 2 points at the end of 20 heats, with countback used to determine the qualification, rankings and championship points. Harald Simon and Ove Ledstrom, each with a single disqualification to their name, lost out on that score. The first of 2 semi-finals here in Togliatti, off the inside start position in the red helmet colour Dmitry Komitsevich, currently 2nd in the championship standings. But the man to beat today, just a single drop point during the heats to Igor Kononov. Gate 2, Dmitry Koltykov hasn't yet beaten Komitsevich or Ivanov in any race this season. That really is a surprise. Gate 3 of Jenny Seidulin, the spoiler, nothing to lose for him. Back-to-back wins coming into this one, but Komitsevich and Koltykov were beyond him in the heats. Martin Harri-Hiltunen completes the lineup. The Swede hasn't yet shown any evidence that he could be a finalist today, not quite on the pace of the Russians on their home ice so far. Komitsevich, Koltykov, Seidulin and Harri-Hiltunen for semi-final 1. Good start from Koltykov, but it's Komitsevich who gets there first. Opportunity up the inside coming off turn 2 for Seidulin. He's not quite close enough. He gets the better of Martin Harri-Hiltunen, the pair going side by side out at the back. But that could well mean little, because Koltykov and Komitsevich are battling it out up front. Koltykov diving down the inside of Komitsevich, moving him wide coming off turn number 2. It doesn't quite work out, and Koltykov slows coming off the second bend, almost hooking up with Komitsevich, and Koltykov has gone from first to last in half a lap. Disaster for Dmitry Koltykov. He's still got time to try and recover this race. He's up the inside now of Martin Harri-Hiltunen. That's one of the 2 passes he needs to make to get through to tonight's grand final. He now looks to the outside of Seidulin, who could be the biggest spoiler of this season so far. Seidulin, the wildcard on the inside line. Koltykov, the 3-time world champion on the outside, loses ground coming off turn number 2. 3 and 4 for the final time. Koltykov looking round the outside. He's not going to get there. Seidulin makes the grand final on his debut. Komitsevich marching on as well. Harri-Hiltunen with an elbow damage after his Heat 13 crash, finding semi-final 1 just a little bit too much. But it's Seidulin who's the spoiler, qualifying alongside Dmitry Komitsevich from the first semi. Semi-final 2, the lineup a near repeat of Heat 19. Igor Kononov suffered his only defeat of the heats off Gate 1 in that one. He has the same position here. Gate 2 in blue, Danil Ivanov, the championship leader. Business as usual aside from a Heat 9 crash. Gate 3, white, Dinar Valeev. He beat Igor Kononov in the heats. The aim for him will be to do the same again here. Hans Weber completes the lineup, only 12th in the standings after his Day 2 crash in Almaty. This is a real opportunity for the German to improve his ranking. Home track specialists on gates 1 and 2 are the favourites here, the tougher of the 2 semi-finals on paper. Kononov, Ivanov, Valeev and Weber get underway for semi-final number 2. Fastest starts from the 2 riders on the inside 2 starting positions, and Valeev, if he wants to get through to the final, is going to have to do it from behind here. Igor Kononov straight up to his favoured outside line. Danil Ivanov with an opportunity to hit the front as they come down the start-finish straight for the second time. Kononov defending well. Ivanov all out of shape, almost comes off the back of the bike, somehow saves it. But now he's relegated outside of the provisional qualification positions. This could be crucial in the context of the championship. Komitsevich already through to the grand final from semi-final number 1. Ivanov has got a recovery mission in the latter stages now of semi-final number 2. Igor Kononov still leads it. He gets in difficulties with the rutted ice around turns 3 and 4. Is that the opportunity that Ivanov needs? Yes, it is. He looks over his shoulder as he picks off Kononov, settles back to the inside line, and disaster for Igor Kononov with difficult ice conditions catching him out from a race-leading position. He drops out of semi-final number 2 and even comes under pressure from Hans Weber in the latter stages. The German not quite able to get there, but real disappointment for the top seed of that semi-final number 2, Igor Kononov, slipping from first to third and out of the action here in Togliatti. Evgeny Saidulin, the spoiler then, on his World Championship debut, final 3 of the 2020 campaign. Dmitry Komitsevich beaten just once in 6 rides so far. He's the top seed and pre-race favourite, looking to pull back some of that 4-point championship deficit. Gate 2 blue, Dinar Valeev making his first grand final appearance of 2020. Back at the scene of his first career podium, 3rd place here 3 years ago. Daniil Ivanov yet to suffer a defeat in a 2020 final. This is the first time, though, he's started one away from the favourable inside gate. Evgeny Saidulin, he's already dumped out Dmitry Koltukov. Will he upset any of the other title contenders in his first final? Komitsevich, Valeev, Ivanov and Saidulin. Ivanov's made a good start off gate number 3. He gets there level with Komitsevich. Komitsevich moves him wide. Ivanov able to power around the outside of Dinar Valeev, but now has to settle into the inside line around turn number 3 to hold back Valeev, who was looking menacing there. Saidulin not out of it, out at the back, looking to scrap for a place on the podium. The slightest of errors from Valeev might bring Saidulin back into it, although he's starting to become a little bit tailed off now down the back straight. Ivanov favouring the inside line. He is closing on Dmitry Komitsevich, who's going to have eyes in the back of his head in the closing stages here. Ivanov looking good on that inside, particularly coming off turn number 4, and the gap between the two of them heading into the top bend is little more than a bike length. Ivanov again cutting to the inside line, almost side by side this time. Komitsevich runs narrow into 1. He's going to run wide coming off turn 2 then. Ivanov with the cutback, side by side coming off the second bend. Ivanov not quite close enough heading into turn number 3, but he's going to have to run on the inside coming off turn 4. Drag race down to the line. Oh, that's close. Komitsevich and Ivanov completely side by side as they came over the line, and the referee is going to have to split them there. It's Daniil Ivanov who's celebrating. That would be a 3rd victory of this 2020 campaign to delight the Togliatti fans. Daniil Ivanov confirmed as the victor. 3 out of 3 for him. Dmitry Komitsevich, 3 runner-up rankings in 2020 so far. Dinar Valeev completing the podium. So beaten just twice throughout the meeting, defeat when it mattered most leaves Dmitry Komitsevich even further back from Daniil Ivanov in the standings overall. Further back, Franz Zorn and Charlie Ebner both put in their best performances of the season so far. In my 3rd race, I had a fall because of a front wheel failure, but I put my best foot forward to recover and managed it, so everything's gone well in the end. It's a good result. The first final of the season for Dinar Valeev, and the failure of Kodunov and Koltukov to progress means the youngster hauls himself back into the battle for bronze. 4 riders separated by 5 points from 3rd position down. 3 second places from Dmitry Komitsevich ensures the gap remains narrow at the top of the leaderboard, but Daniil Ivanov completes an impressive hat-trick to start the defence of his title in fine style. Franz Zorn entered final 4 among 5 riders still looking for their first semi-final space of 2020. But the former world number 2 got off to a far stronger start to the heat programme with a victory in his opening outing. Ove Ledstrom had seemingly settled the race down until a lap 3 error that allowed his 2 rivals back in. Zorn capturing a lead he never surrendered, despite pressure from Stefan Svensson to the flag. Zorn, though, made no further progress in the meeting, picking up just 4 points from his remaining 4 outings after losing out to Martin Hara-Hiltonen in Heat 11. Hans Weber, meanwhile, ensured he qualified with a spectacular Heat 14 effort. The German took advantage of squabbles between 3-time world champions Dmitry Koltukov and Daniil Ivanov to hit the front. Neither Russian willing to take risks to get back on terms with their semi-final status assured. Final 3 hero, Evgeny Saidulin, was the only Russian eliminated on day 2 in Togliatti, the youngster dropping out at the expense of Harold Simon after a close-fought head-to-head between the pair in Heat 15. From 3rd to 1st, Simon took a well-deserved victory, although Saidulin did come close to threatening him for the points he needed once he'd dispatched Stefan Svensson with a bold outside move. All that remained was for Hans Weber to record the points he needed to confirm his top 8 place, which he did in typical swashbuckling style by cutting between Harold Simon and Lukas Huttler for second in his final outing. Just one drop point from 5 rides puts Dinar Valeev through to the final as top seed. Daniil Ivanov taking it somewhat easier in his final 2 outings with his semi-final place assured. Harri Hiltunen, Simon and Weber all making the cut for the 3rd time this season. This, on paper, is the more straightforward semi-final to predict. 2 high-scoring Russians versus 2 West European spoilers. Dinar Valeev off the inside, the 24-year-old chasing back-to-back grand final appearances. Daniil Ivanov, 8 consecutive final appearances, a key to the reigning champion's resurgence over the last year or so. He goes off gate 2. Martin Harri Hiltunen in white, 4th in both of his semi-final appearances in 2020, yet to make a final this campaign. Harold Simon, a podium finisher back in final 1 in Almaty, is looking for his 2nd top 4 place this season. Hans Weber, the only man to take points from the Russians so far here today. Will that change at the semi-final stage? Valeev, Ivanov, Harri Hiltunen and Simon then for semi-final number 1 with 2 places up for grabs in the final. Tapes up and away they go. Valeev with a good one off the inside. Harri Hiltunen's away well. Ivanov briefly back into 3rd position, cuts back nicely though. Coming off turn number 2 to power from 3rd to 1st and hit the front at the end of the opening lap. Valeev almost low sides off the machine there, coming around turns 3 and 4. Harri Hiltunen though is only impeded by his direct rival. Harold Simon looking for a way back into the race, but he's stranded out at the back. Well, I did say that this was likely to be the more predictable of the 2 semi-finals. And so it is proving. Harri Hiltunen becoming estranged from the 2 Russians now, looked over his shoulder, coming down the start-finish straight to check on the progress of Harold Simon, who is closing in. Remember, this will be worth a couple of championship points to Harold Simon if he can find a way past Harri Hiltunen. Valeev, though, getting into trouble on the penultimate lap, and suddenly Harri Hiltunen is back on his tail. The tenacious Swede never gives in, looks to the outside on 1 and 2. Valeev is getting into real difficulties on the rutted ice on the inside line. Harri Hiltunen's got the smoother arc on the outside, but he can't quite get there, and he almost gets picked off by Harold Simon coming off turn number 4. A close finish there from 2nd down to 4th. No problems out in front for Daniil Ivanov. Took command coming off turn 2 and never saw which way he went. 3 of the top 4 in the standings line up against one another in semi-final 2. A result that will be critical in the context of the championship, with at least one of the Russian big guns set to miss out here. Dmitry Komitsevich comes into this one with 3 wins in succession. Igor Kononov off gate number 2 in blue. He can't afford another blip here, already 20 points back in the championship standings after failing to make the final yesterday. Dmitry Koltskov, gate 3, beaten by all 4 of his fellow Russian semi-finalists during the heat stages, visibly struggling in 2020. Hans Weber, the outside, off gate 4. Semi-final 2 gets underway. A lot of lift from the tapes for Dmitry Komitsevich, who has to work hard to get inside Koltskov and remain in the provisional qualification positions. Igor Kononov it is who's bolted out in front. Komitsevich putting daylight between himself and Dmitry Koltskov. Hans Weber still challenging the 3-time world champion for 3rd place, as down the inside comes Komitsevich to pick off Igor Kononov. Kononov all too often is susceptible to an inside pass because he always favours the outside line. He's given up 1 position there, and Koltskov now smells blood in the water. An opportunity to get past Kononov and book his place in the grand final. Kononov makes an error coming off turn number 2. Koltskov almost goes up the back of him, has to swerve across to the inside to avoid. Kononov then under real pressure here in the latter stages. Koltskov again incisive. Oh, Komitsevich slowing! Komitsevich slows from the lead of the race, and the man who currently sits 2nd in the championship standings will drop out at the semi-final stages. And here comes Hans Weber around the outside, and Koltkov's got off the back of the machine. All sorts of goings on in the final lap there in semi-final 2. Koltskov bins it off the final turn. Hans Weber makes the pass to come through to the grand final. Kononov hits the front, having dropped at one stage to 3rd. Komitsevich and Koltskov out. Final 4, the last race of the weekend here in Togliatti. Daniil Ivanov looking to take maximum advantage of misfortune for Dmitry Komitsevich. He has an opportunity to go 16 points clear with a victory here. Igor Kononov, gate 2, 10 years on from his first career podium. Here, he makes his 41st grand final appearance, his 3rd of 2020. Dinar Valeev, gate 3, white. His first podium of the campaign recorded here yesterday. Now can he add to his career victory tally that currently stands at 3. And Hans Weber, in only his second Grand Final appearance, he finished 4th in Berlin last season, looking to go one better and claim a first podium here. Ivanov, Kononov, Valeev and Weber for final 4 of this 2020 campaign here in Togliatti. Long hole, but we're underway. Kononov once again, the fastest trapper off gate number 2. He gets the hole shot. Valeev and Weber there or thereabouts, but they've both gone wide, and Ivanov picks them off with consummate ease. Kononov straight up to his favoured outside line, and Ivanov with an opportunity already to start nibbling away at the inside of Igor Kononov. Kononov desperate now to keep up his momentum, because otherwise that outside line will fail. The slightest of errors and Ivanov will be through. He rides well on the inside line here in Togliatti. Goes mid-track on the top bend. Oh, Weber's come off at the back. Well, that's going to bring a premature halt to this one and will also result in the disqualification of Hans Weber from his first ever Grand Final. We run with 3 riders only then. Ivanov, Kononov and Valeev for the second time of asking. All 3 will be on the podium, but in which order? Championship points to be awarded here. As we get underway, Kononov's made a good one, only fractionally better than Ivanov, but enough to clamp him going into the first turn. Ivanov held back in 3rd place briefly, dives past Valeev, and now thunders down the inside of Kononov as well. The pair moved right out to the bales. Valeev picks off the pair. Ivanov all out of shape. Save of the century, that one, for Ivanov to get it back down on the ice, and he's even made the pass to hit the front. Well, when you're riding through a purple patch like Daniil Ivanov, it seems as though nothing can get the better of you. He's made another mistake there coming off turn number 4, but what a lap of ice speedway that was from Daniil Ivanov to save what looked like a certain fall that would have been costly in the context of the championship. Ivanov's backed it off now. Ivanov down the back straight, looking over his shoulder. You can see that he doesn't fancy chasing Dinar Valeev down. The youngster has nothing to fear and nothing to lose. He's the man with ground to make up in the context of the series standings. So around turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Look at how strung out they are. Igor Kononov has knocked it off totally, but Valeev can celebrate on one wheel. A battle of the brave on rutted ice in the Grand Final, and it's Valeev who always comes up trumps in these conditions. Daniil Ivanov thinking of the championship there, playing the percentages game, but it's his first final defeat of 2020. Valeev wins it ahead of Ivanov and Kononov. Hans Weber and Martin Harahiltonen both put in their best scores of the season so far, with 4th and 6th respectively. Meanwhile, 2020's new scoring system cost Dmitry Komitsevich dearly a mechanical retirement in semi-final 2, losing him at least 4 points on his championship tally. First of all, I want to thank all of my supporters. It was a very exciting race, and I'm really pleased with the result. I've been quite unlucky so far this season, but I remembered how to do it today, and you see that reflected in the trophy here. A somewhat fortuitous place in the final for Hans Weber moves the German above Franz Zorn and Stefan Svensson into 8th overall. A sizable gap has emerged behind the top 10 in the standings, and Jenny Saidulin managing in one weekend what 5 riders have scored in 4 meetings so far. A first podium of the season for Igor Kononov and a first defeat of the campaign for Daniil Ivanov. But with Komitsevich and Koltskov losing further ground, a 14-point advantage puts the reigning champion in the driving seat.